Become Forged, Maximizing Masculinity by Michael Sonneveld. Section 1. A Treatise on Moving Men Forward. Chapter 1. Introduction. Something is wrong. If we take the time to stop and look around, life seems normal enough. However, the day-to-day happens and the current becomes normal, so much so that we become blind to the unhealthy reality that constructs our society. Unfortunately, it has become commonplace to cry out about all kinds of major problems in our society, and it has also become commonplace to scream solutions at the top of our lungs. However, if a solution requires something of someone else, is it a solution or an abdication of responsibility? Stick with me here. There's a point to all this. When we clamor for the increase of welfare, are we taking responsibility for the solution or hoping other people's money will solve the issue? When we argue boys need to be more like girls, are we creating more wholly developed boys or creating personality issues from the depths of their core? When we argue that the rich aren't paying their fair share or that they're too greedy, are we solving the problem by lashing out with our greed and envy? We're all clamoring and announcing solutions to the world's greatest problems. The issue of masculinity within Western culture is one of those problems that every group is more than willing to shout out their solutions. But how many are truly doing something about it? And let us put aside the solution of simply molding boys into overgeneralized psychological profiles. We've also decided a solution is to create programs within public schools that reject inherent boyhood tendencies and force our young boys to reframe their whole life into a more feminine or more submitted approach. If the damage is not carefully observed, we may have ushered in the collapse of civilization and brought it about with great speed, all in our attempts to create society in our image. A solution must use the tools and resources available to it. But this is not a plea for more studies, observations, psychological theories, or heaven forbid, teacher-directed programs and discipline. The solutions must result from truly understanding the nature of the subject. And if the nature of men is not understood properly, a whole host of misapplied theories and solutions can cause extreme damage to the test subject. And that is what a boy truly is today, a test subject. To know what makes a man and how to forge a man, we must return to the beginning. Whether you're religious or not, the use of religious truth can be a vital gateway to knowing what lies at the foundation of humanity. Myths, parables, and stories are examples of life and are shaped through real experiences. Even completely fabricated myths are shaped through reality. It's the human story. But since the Enlightenment, we have shunned myth, fable, and religion as old creations not fit for present consumption. What we replaced it with was scientific study and reason. The only problem is that science can answer how. We must ask, how deep can it go? One might argue religion has no depth either, but that's a fool's assumption. When carefully studied, religious stories provide a vast treasure trove of truth about the human condition that just cannot be found in a textbook on evolution. If we're going to know how to forge a complete man, we must start at the beginning, in the Garden of Eden. If you're not religious, this is still valuable. If you're a Christian, you will understand the vitality of the deeper truths apparent in this account. In the beginning, God created Adam as well as all animals, but he realized man was alone. This was the first thing recorded that God said was not good. A lonely man is not a good thing, as any of us can attest. And if we look at the new normal of mass shooters, there tends to be a theme. Lonely, mentally disturbed men who grew up without a father or poor fatherly relationship, and who were drugged up with medications for depression. So God created woman and created them male and female. The presence of the woman was considered very good, and the biblical description of her was that she was a helper or confidant, a life partner. Do not forget, the woman was created from Adam's rib, not his foot or his hand or his back, but his rib. This signifies the side-by-side position as well as the intention that man and woman would reunite as one flesh in marriage and consummation. Men were given dominion over the earth, and the Lord's order was for man to go forth, multiply, and subdue the earth. Man was given as a steward over all the animals and plants. Creation was a gift. Let's stop for a second. Man has been given purpose. In the first 2 chapters of Genesis, God presented man with a deeper purpose. He was to steward the creation. God did not steward it for man, but set him in the garden and told man to go forth. This is a fundamental purpose placed within men. This is what I call the legacy gene. Each man seems to have inherently within him a desire for legacy. This legacy gene is what drives men so often to strike out on their own, build wealth, secure a beautiful wife, have kids, land an awesome career, build buildings with their name, control large swaths of land, or create a pivotal shift in the world at large. Each man wants to build something outside himself. And every boy is attempting to uncover and understand that deeply seated legacy gene within himself. Men get into trouble by either not understanding what exactly is within them or misapplying the drive into something that is at best shallow and at worst completely destructive. Men substitute greed and desire in misapplied attempts to build something outside of themselves, and they consider the competition for resources and wealth to be the attainment of a legacy. If we don't raise our boys to aim their sights correctly, they will often fall off the path and attempt a shallow gratification of desires, not realizing that they are accepting an extremely poor substitute for true legacy. If discouragement batters them over a long period, or they become distracted by addiction/time fillers, they may lose the drive to fulfill the legacy gene. This in turn leaves them feeling depressed, worthless, and disgruntled, or even numb. The biggest shame is that our boys are not being guided by men who know how to develop as a complete man themselves, let alone pass it along to their sons. Many fathers have fallen into the desire trap, either by leaving their families or becoming so consumed with other things that they become useless or even harmful to the development of their sons. Many of our boys are raised in very female-centric environments, giving rise to the boy who does not understand his masculinity, and once again, the environment attempts to apply the wrong solutions to the problem. Women are vital to the raising of a well-developed man. But what boys are lacking is the forging that is required, and it cannot be instituted by anyone but forged men. The value of the father-son relationship cannot be underestimated. However, if a father figure is unavailable, a fair substitute presents itself in the mentor-mentee relationship. Our goal is to solve the problem correctly, and that means developing boys into men. Mind you, in this book, boys is not a term used only for the young. Many adult males still feel like boys, and frankly, are still boys in their outlook, maturity, ability, and responsibility. This book is going to give the beginning of the solution, which is found in knowledge, direction, and awareness. For boys to become men, the action must be applied over time. Those boys must take on the task and understand their responsibility in the process. But those leading the development must also recognize their role in the process. A boy's development into a man becomes a partnership between the boy and the family or community around him. Only when our boys are given the tools and environment to fully maximize their potential as men will these boys learn what they need to move forward in life. When that happens, you'll find the boy is happy to shed off his own boyhood for a chance at truly becoming a man.